What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. Phil Perry is alongside. We're still kicking around and trying to find the black box from Sunday's season-opening loss to the Raiders. Let's start at quarterback. How many times can we say it? The Patriots are going to go as far as Drake Maye will take them this year and in the future years. And the young man threw for 287 yards. He went 30 for 46. The product looked better. That's the most gross passing yards this team has had since the 2023 opener against Philadelphia, and they were behind all game that game. 17-0 down out of the chutes. Boy, did that team suck. So it's a low bar to clear, but this is a more watchable product. But the dispersion for Drake Maye between good plays and bad plays is still too friggin' wide. How do the Patriots narrow that while still allowing Drake Maye to be the playmaker, gunslinger that he fancies himself to be? Because the damage done by bad football at the quarterback position is really hard to survive. Even small plays that seem minor, if you're a team with no margin for error, they can be lethal. Phil Perry, our guy, asked Mike Vrabel on Monday about toggling back and forth between putting the right amount on Drake Maye's plate. And this is presented by Shaw's, proud to be local since 1860.
Is there anything with Drake? Is there any chance you feel like there might be too much on his plate right now? You talk about him maybe wanting to play perfect or maybe looking tentative.
Well, and again, I think we have to evaluate that. We have to find out, is there something there, or we just got to, figure out what our guys do best and do that. And, because if you do that, right, then you have to be really good, as opposed to trying to scheme or get into the right situation. Again, we just make sure that we're giving them answers, but trying not to give them too much. I think that's always the balance and the fine line.
Hey, Phil.
Tom?
I got a question for you. And I've plagiarized myself here with the question, took it out of my column because I thought it was a good question. How can the Patriots get Maye to slow down, take a breath, settle his feet, stop drifting in the pocket, and not walk into trouble? A brief summation of not great Drake plays from Sunday, overshooting DeMario Douglas on the first drive, overshooting Douglas in the end zone. He did hit him a second later for a touchdown, throwing a pick into a cluster of humans while under duress to start the second half, walking into a sack on 3rd and 5 late in the third, having the ball fall out of his hand while under duress with 6:12 left in the game. Will Campbell got charged with a strip sack, but the pressure had absolutely zero to do with the ball falling out of his hand. He was not contacted. That would have been a fumble. So, how do they do that, Phil?
They can't do it all in 1 week, and that to me is the issue. He is still a relatively raw player, and so there's a lot that Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel and the rest of this coaching staff and Drake Maye himself have to work on with him in order for him to improve these things. But I think maybe one of the issues right now, and it felt most glaring to me, was that he didn't look comfortable, right? And so I think he's trying to prevent making the devastating mistake, even though there was an interception and there was the fumble. I think he's thinking maybe a little bit too much because he did not look like the play-free, gunslinging type that he looked to be last year when it was going well.
When did he not look comfortable? Because Mike Vrabel talked about command. You talked about some command at the line of scrimmage with him doing things. Was it post-snap discomfort? Because that's what I perceived. He looks the part. He looks like he does have command at the line of scrimmage. He's getting guys in the right places. There was a delay, yes. But by and large, he looks like he has command until the ball gets snapped and he sees something he doesn't expect.
I think it depended on the moment because pre-snap, he had to delay a game penalty too, which is something we saw in the preseason. So now he's a repeat offender in terms of pre-snap miscues. That's supposed to be his operation out there. He's supposed to have the trains running on time, and he didn't. And so I think it's both. You do see some pre-snap command for sure. I thought the touchdown pass, he alerts the play. He does a good job of getting the football out and makes a much more accurate throw than he did on the previous play to Pop Douglas right there, low red zone, wide open for a touchdown and misses him, but somehow on the much more difficult throw, he's able to hit that one with ease. So it's really hard to put your finger on what the problem is with Drake Maye. I think, this is just my theory, if you can get things to slow down a little bit for him, you might see a little bit of improvement in all areas. as opposed to let's load him up. Mike Vrabel's talking about, getting into the perfect play, and it's not always going to work that way. And sometimes you just have to make a play. Maybe take a little more off his plate, which they're considering clearly, and allow him to relax a little bit so that all of these mistakes and these different facets and their different types of mistakes, maybe some of them go away.
You know what sucks is the Patriots are expected to win. Not win big, but yesterday was a winnable game. This upcoming week will be a winnable game against the biggest sad sack team in the NFL right now. Pittsburgh should be a somewhat winnable game. No, that'll be here. Carolina, absolutely winnable. So you don't want to start putting training wheels on him a second time. But like it or not, youth is a friggin' huge factor. He's not yet 23. He played 26 games in college. Jaden Daniels played 55. He played 30 more college games, Jaden Daniels did. Yet we're going to go Drake Maye, Jaden Daniels all year long. They went consecutively in the draft. Drake Maye is not yet 40 games removed from high school. He's so young. He's so raw. They pissed away his rookie year to a large extent. He had no protection, so he was under siege. Now they're coming in and they're saying, all right, well, you are young, but tough noogies. We took you third. And you can do all these things, and you're not a dummy, and you're physically strong, and you're smart enough, so we're going to throw all this stuff at you. He's going to have to get used to, and I said this in the offseason, he's going to get a lot of slings and arrows when people are saying, hey, why not yet? Why aren't you ready? It's because he's only played 26 college games. Tom Brady had 4 years of college and 1 year of an apprenticeship before he had his opportunity 3 games into the 2020-2001 season.
And I would add this, Tom. It would be one thing if he had that level of experience and he was walking into a situation like the one, for example, your guy, J.J. McCarthy's walking into in Minnesota with a tremendous play-calling head coach, top 5 arguably offensive line in football, and a top 5 receiving core in football. And so even if he was inexperienced and had all of that, I think the expectations could be high, especially with somebody with his physical skill set. But when you take that relative lack of experience and you pair it with the worst offensive line in football in 2024 and arguably the worst set of receivers in football in 2024, and you don't improve the weapons all that much, even if you're going to see incremental improvement from individual types, and you added a Stephon Diggs, who obviously has had a great career, and you improve the offensive line, but it's still got a lot of question marks, the situation, to me, just isn't good enough to support a player with his background. On top of it, Tom, add that he's in, I think, his 4th offense in as many years going back to his last 2 years in college. How can you expect it? I'm making an excuse for him already after 1 week, but how are you going to expect him to be a next-level performer at the hardest position in sports?
There's a difference between an explanation and an excuse. And I've said that a billion times in my own life. This is why it looks the way it does. It's no guarantee it won't. But the Patriots are going to be at a crossroads with Drake Maye. And the crossroads is he going to be Sam Darnold? Are you going to be the Jets? Or is he going to be Josh Allen? Are you going to be the Bills? And remember, the first year Josh Allen was in the league, he was on a team that went to the playoffs. He succeeded a guy, Tyrod Taylor, who took the team to the playoffs. Sam Darnold didn't join a team that had gone to the playoffs. When he was seeing ghosts in Halloween of 2019 or whatever it was, that was a bad team. Sam Darnold could play. Drake Maye can play. But there's going to be a consistent conversation. We have a whiteboard. We put a fun question on it every single day out in the newsroom.
Oh, I know it.
Question today. Did you see it?
No.
What's your confidence level, 1 to 10, that Drake Maye is the guy? I saw a 2.5. I saw a 3. I saw a 7. I didn't see anything over a 7. But you can't keep opening the oven door, I've said this before, to check whether or not the cake is done. It's going to take some friggin' time. It's going to look ugly. And Sunday did look ugly. And it looked ugly because of Maye, largely because of Maye, and his inaccuracy. And I don't really blame it on the offensive line or the receivers and the drop of Demario Douglas or the play calling. I blame it on operator error in a few different instances.
Can I push back on you for 1 second?
Please do. Bring it. Yeah, please.
I think the one area where I would say he needs more help is in that run game.
We're going to get to that.
There are very
No
few
doubt.
quarterbacks who can operate a drop-back passing game almost for 50 dropbacks with 3.3 yards per attempt with the weapons that he has and have a lot of success.
Why are they having to abandon the run game? In part, it's because he helped dig the hole in the second half.
Fair enough. The score gets out of control, and that's partly on him, then yes. But even in the first half, they could. The one longish run they had was on a fake tush push.
Yep.
That offensive line got zero. Speaking of push, zero push to create room for those running backs, and it made them one-dimensional.
And to be fair, too, I'm sure a lot of our most learned fans, who I respect greatly, are saying, Tom, they weren't down 21 points. It was 14-10. You don't have to abandon the run. But I went through the possessions a little bit on Post-Game Live, and it was an outgrowth of down and distance sometimes. It was a false start. They were in a 1st and 20. They didn't have enough possessions.
2nd and 10 even.
I'm not
you're
defending.
not running the football.
They ran the ball 3 times in the second. 3! And those 3 carries were one by May, one by Antonio Gibson, and one by Demario Douglas. 3 friggin' times in 30 minutes of football. Not good enough. What did you see from individuals, good or bad, on the offensive line?
I think Garrett Bradbury's still working through figuring out how the system is supposed to work. I think Will Campbell, those 2 false starts, I thought Will Campbell, to the good, I thought he played 3 good quarters. And he had a false start at the end of the 3rd quarter. He had a false start in the 4th quarter. And he allowed a quarterback hit. You're right. That ball was out of Drake Maye's hands. 9 1/8 inches. That was an issue during the draft. It was something that we talked about. Hey, if he's going to play here in the Northeast, he's in the 16th percentile in terms of hand size. That thing just flew out. That wasn't due to Will Campbell, but he did lose that particular rep. Jared Wilson, I thought, allowed pressure, if not necessarily a number of sacks. He looked a little too permissive up front. So I thought it was more on the run game part of it, though, for the offensive line. I did not look at that game and say the protection's what let them down. It's why they lost the game. I think they were around 30% in terms of the pressure rate. Mm-hmm. That, believe it or not, is almost a 10% improvement from where they were over the breadth of last season for Drake Maye. So it wasn't as bad as what he was used to in 2024, and I don't think it's what lost them the game. You got to be better in the run game, though, to get that push, to allow your play actions to work, to make your quarterback more comfortable. He clearly was not comfortable.
Are the Patriots not as good as everybody thought on defense? And accepting the absence of Christian Gonzalez, this is something I talked about in the week leading up. People are overestimating that the individual parts are going to come together and become a tremendous whole earlier than they probably will. The front played well. Milton Williams, you got what you paid for.
Sure.
Harold Landry, you got more than you paid for. Keon White, Kalen Chason, Kairos Tonga. I'm missing somebody too.
Christian Barmore.
I thought I mentioned him.
I don't
was
know.
Good. Bobby Spillane and company. I don't know what goes on at the linebacker level. I'll be really honest. I don't see consequence. I don't see plays of consequence.
I saw missed tackles. I thought the linebackers
I saw a
were
wrong
not very
hole
good.
decided upon by
And a
young
wrong
Bobby.
hole from Robert Spillane, which I don't even think goes down as a missed tackle. But I saw multiple from both Spillane and Christian Ellis. And in the secondary, I think there was one play where communication really showed up, and your point about those guys not working much together probably hurt them. There was a bunch set, and they hit Brock Bowers for a big, I think it was a 38-yard gain on a deep over route. And I think they maybe had the coverage locked, and so they're just playing straight up man-to-man, 3 for 3. And Jalen Hawkins is trying to fight through bodies and ends up getting picked, and Brock Bowers is wide open. That might have been a situation where if you had a group that had played a lot together, and maybe a Devin McCourty and a Stephon Gilmore, they could change things up a little bit. They could combo that. They could banjo it and figure it out to a greater degree. I just think in terms of their style of play, Tom, it's the aggressiveness when they, it giveth and taketh away. The number of blitzes was through the roof. They were over 40% in terms of their blitz rate.
Were they? Is that what the number ended up being?
Had some success. Yeah, it was 3rd highest in the NFL before Monday Night Football in Week 1. They got home at times. It helped them get home at times. It also burned them, like on that first touchdown pass.
They are 5th in sacks per pass attempt with 30 teams having played. They were 32nd in that last year. They're also 29th out of 30 teams in yards per attempt and in yards allowed.
9 plays of 20 yards or more for Geno Smith.
Let me go through them.
It's a double-edged sword.
This is great. My column I wrote today, the defense got chunk played at an almost laughable rate in the first quarter alone. First quarter alone, they allowed completions of 26, 24, 23, and 23. In the second half, after opportunities to maybe we got to cut the crap with that, they allowed plays of 38, 36, 34, 30, and 23, including a 19-yarder that turned into a 34-yard gain when you had Jalen Hawkins adding 15 yards to a Jacoby Myers reception. Was Jacoby Myers a Turner? Be that as it
was
may.
Myers.
The Patriots, are they 0-1 more because of their defensive lack of prowess or game plan, or because of their inability to finish drives and stay away from dumbness on offense?
It's their offense.
Okay, I think
Because
it's,
I think
it's defense.
If I were to tell you before the season, Tom, you're going to have a gambling defense that's going to be wildly entertaining for both good and bad reasons to watch. And they're going to allow 20 points per game. You might say, they should be a little bit better than 20 per game. But 20 points per game in 2025 in the NFL, I just feel like, can you not expect the Patriots
got to get to 24?
To get to 24? That's all I've been hearing from you. So I look at the final score and I say 20 points. I mean, I know it looked bad, and they made a ton of mistakes on the defensive side too. I'm not excusing it away for them. And we're breaking them down on the breakdown this week. But I look at the offense and say, you put up 13 against that defense that has basically one recognizable name? Not great.
All right. We're going to go to a quick break. We'll be back in just a second. We're going to delve into just a smidge the Miami Dolphins, 33-8 losers to the Indianapolis Colts. We'll also talk about what Phil alluded to, that running game, and how the Patriots are kicking rocks about their lack of usage in the running game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now time for our Ford tough play of the game, and that came from Kayshon Boutte. 3rd and 10 from the Raiders' 46 in the first quarter. Boutte over the middle for 24. He takes a lick. That was the lone Patriots touchdown drive. He helped set that up on that 3rd and 10. He returned from the hit, finished with 6 catches for 103 yards, which brings us to our next topic. There were 22 wide receiver targets, Phil. Drake Maye went 12 for 15 to Diggs and Boutte. He went 2 for 7 to Pop Douglas, but there were just 13 total carries for the running backs. Mike Vrabel on the running backs Monday.
Mike, on the radio this morning, talking about the run game, you mentioned something along the lines of, there might be issues that a team presents us. They might be in a certain front, and then we have to get away from it, or we think we have to get away from it.
Right.
Did they give you something that you weren't expecting?
Well, there were different pieces and different guys moving at different parts of the area, and whether we wanted to run a play at a certain player, you're never going to know. And I think we just have to rely on our base rules, base fundamentals. Block the bigs and block the backers. And again, you're going to have to do something to get to safety. And sometimes the corners are the ones that are left in some of these run games. So, because you either can RPO it, you can read somebody, or they're going to have a player again widest from the formation that in theory is free. So. We have to pick something each play and decide how we want to run it, but not be tentative in making sure that we're never going to be perfect, right? You just want to be precise, and I think that's going to be the message to us going forward, is how we improve, and we can't rely and we can't think that every play is going to be perfect. It's never going to be that way, and when it isn't perfect, that we somehow have some sort of reaction, and we need to make sure that we have a great response and continue to stay positive and have positive plays, overcome whatever penalties and things that we have to fix, and we have to protect the ball. We have to make sure that we protect the football, and that it takes everybody.
What do you infer from this? Because when I'm listening to 98.5, the Sports Hub from 2 to 6, it's the Felger and Maz program, also simulcast on NBC Sports Boston. They seized on the idea that Vrabel is all over McDaniels. Bad play calling. He didn't do a good enough job. No, they love a little bit of turmoil over there. It's like Knots Landing. It's like Dallas. I'm coming up to the late 70s evening dramas. But do you infer that he's pissed at Josh McDaniels, what do you infer from the notion that, we're trying to be a little too fine, we're trying to be a little bit too particular about what we do? Can we just line up and run the play?
I do think that the offensive coordinator is factoring into the calculus there somewhere. I think the quarterback probably does too, because the quarterback, Tom, has a lot of freedom at the line of scrimmage in this Josh McDaniels offense. And so I wonder whether it's McDaniels or May or both, if Vrabel doesn't look at them and say, can we just take it easy on all the checks at the line and alerting the second play and making sure that, okay, we've got the front numbers counted out and the mic's all pointed and, oh boy, this run play is not going to really be perfect for this, so we better get to something else. Mike Vrabel strikes me as the kind of guy who would be okay with every once in a while, can you just call the play and run it and just go execute the play and keep it simple, stupid? I think that was the vibe, that was the feeling. Try not to put words in his mouth, but that was sort of the feeling that I got from Vrabel, both in his meeting with us and in his conversation on WEEI this morning. I thought he made similar types of comments.
This is an interesting dynamic because Josh McDaniels certainly will have an ego. He coached Mike Vrabel when Vrabel was a player, obviously. They're the same age generally. But Josh has had 2 head coaching. He's got 6 Super Bowl rings. He coaches offense. And Mike's telling him, hey, he's Parcells-ing the McDaniels-Belichick at the Giants. Stop trying to impress everybody up in the 30th row. Run a goddamn play. It'll be interesting to see and hear from Josh on Thursday how he reacts to kind of being singled out as trying to soup things up and make it too hard. Because Mike is saying, as we talked about at the beginning of the program here, we want to look at exactly how much we're putting on Drake. And he is 26 games in. But it's funny because, correct me if I'm wrong, and I think that I'm right, when a player goes to the line of scrimmage, he often has 2 plays in mind. There's the play that's called, and then when you alert, you're going to go to another one, or perhaps sometimes a third one. But there's a fail-safe. You're trying to get into, as Tom Brady always talked about, getting out of a bad play is almost as important as getting into a good one. So he's trying to get out of bad plays. Maybe they weren't that bad, is what Vrabel's saying.
Maybe that's what he saw on the tape and reflecting on it and understanding what the first call was versus the second call and the result. I think the pushback, if I'm Josh McDaniels, just to play both sides of this, would you not look at Mike Vrabel if he's making those kinds of comments to you in a meeting and say, I get it, Mike, simple can oftentimes be better. We don't exactly have the early 90s Cowboys roster right now.
We don't have Dermontti Dawson in center.
And so if we just call a play and run it and it's into a bad look, there are teams that might be able to execute those and have some success. We're not one of those teams right now. And so that's got to be the push-pull, because I understand both sides of it.
I do too. And it'd be fun to see it play out publicly and cordially. Because that would be, we got 2 guys who are very smart, know a lot of football, and I think it's going to be framed as a pissing contest between the 2. But it can be a healthy disagreement, and you see it unfold in real time. I don't think that's going to happen, but it will be interesting to see if there are 38 run stuffs on Sunday down in Miami, and Josh is going,
I tried to tell you. We can't just line up and beat these other guys. Our guys aren't that good.
All right. So I mentioned the sad sack Dolphins. No one is sad sackier right now than Mike McDaniel, the embattled coach of the Miami Dolphins. You're going to love this. It's long. It's about 45 seconds of Mike McDaniel at the mic immediately after the 33-8 loss to the Indianapolis Colts, which wasn't that close. Mike?
Yeah, I think in the National Football League, when you're -3 plus turnover on downs, you run into the kicker, you across the board, that's not a formula. And so that formula is for failure and nothing else. And I think, there was a lot of preparation for week 1, and I don't think it looked it. What does that mean? That means that guys let week 1 and the bells and whistles of the season starting get the best of them. My job is to prevent that, I did my best, not good enough.
Phil, my question I put down here is, sweet Jesus, they can't lose to Tua again, can they? Not in this situation.
Boy, I mean, they can. Will they? I don't know. You need to give me more time to make my prediction here. But when it comes to dysfunction, doesn't it feel like that's where this team is trending? They had all this Tyreek Hill stuff happen in the recent past. Tua is a guy who is very outspoken himself and not afraid to call out his teammates even after the game. He's talking about, hey, I saw a lot of guys working pretty hard before week 1. We get beat like that. I'll be interested to see how many people are working hard week 2. Like, that's pretty strong commentary from a guy who is, in my opinion, not exactly living up to the big contract that he's been given in Miami. So all sorts of things going wrong down there. I just wonder, Patriots going down there this time of year, Tom, that's usually a tough matchup for them.
It's interesting, too, because Tua bristled at the notion that when he was asked in postgame, hey, you have turnovers, they come in bunches. And they do. Mm-hmm. I think I saw on Pro Football Talk there was a statistic that he had 7 games of 3 or more turnovers. So he does take care of the ball, but when it starts going south, it stays south. And we had 3 turnovers on Sunday. Are you concerned they're going to be in get-right mode against the Patriots to an extent here? Or does this team seem like it's taking on water?
It feels like it's coming apart at the seams. And so
it's been a bad offseason in Miami.
I don't know if they're going to necessarily rally the troops and win one for Mike. I don't know if they're that kind of team and he's that kind of coach. Especially after we just heard what he had to say after the game.
Throughout that 16 minutes, go there and check it out if you want to. It's on YouTube, Miami Dolphins. He continually lobs the players and their execution under the bus. They get run over 137 times. Mike also likes to say National Football League. There's about 9 of those. Not good enough in the National Football League. So he does not seem to be a win-one for the Mikey guy.
I just wonder how much longer he's going to be a head coach in the National Football League, quite frankly.
He reminded me of Kendall Roy throughout the entire the sad Kendall Roy. If you guys watch Succession. So watch the press conference.
Did he start rapping mid-press conference?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't upbeat Kendall Roy. It was post Shiv's wedding Kendall Roy after he had the ride with the
Stephen Ross is on a street corner in an alley talking to him, trying to work things out. Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's time now for a special television version, a new device. It's called Phil's Fascinating Stat of the Game. Phil, I'm sure, has not studied up and read the entire plan here. So let's hear what Phil's Fascinating Stat of the Game is.
I have a fascinating stat for you. The fascinating stat of the game is as follows, and these numbers are per our friends at NextGen Stats. The Patriots defense, before Monday Night Football, they had the 3rd highest blitz rate in all of the NFL at 43.6%. They had the 5th best sack rate at 10.3%, and the 10th best pressure rate at 38.5%. However, they still allowed the 8th worst EPA per pass. Boom or bust by definition. Terrell Williams loves to gamble, but he both won and lost on Sunday.
I have my own device. It's probably going to change, but for this week, I can't even, and it's Aaron Rodgers. Throwing 4 touchdowns, 22 for 30 for 244. I was forecasting a walking dead performance from Aaron Rodgers, and yet, they go out and they beat the Justin Fields-led New York Jets. I literally can't even with Aaron Rodgers.
I love that because you're going to hate the sound of your voice saying that as the season goes on, but you're going to have to stick with it. We've established it now. It's going to have to carry us through 2025.
I might dress it up too. I literally can't even.
Oh, that was good.
But also, I literally cannot even. All right. Thanks for joining. We got all kinds of things coming up next.